Hey, this is Matt once again. What about the video? The paid request this time for RB. Thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, reviews, re-reviews, trying out an older video game, whatever it may be, you feel free to send it if you want, either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box under pretty much any of these videos. Now, Moneyball is the movie for today. For a film that's about baseball and math and statistics, and I say it out loud and it sounds boring, it's really not, and I rather enjoyed it. Came out in 2011, was even nominated for, I believe it was nominated for quite a few awards, including Best Picture, I believe. And I just see why. It stars Brad Pitt, who I liked as an actor. Seven, World War Z. I liked that film Ad Astra. Actually, it makes me want to watch that again sometime soon. It's been a while since I've seen it. But I liked him as an actor. I thought he did a good job here. He's the general manager of a baseball team called the Athletics. It's a real team. And they had a losing season. And he's a guy that, he was a player back in the day, but he was so faced with failure that even though he's the GM here, he can't watch the games. He just can't. Either some superstition, he'll jinx it, whatever it may be. And so he'll listen on the radio. And you can tell this is a guy that doesn't really seem like he gets much satisfaction from the game itself. I mean, with how many people keep telling him, just enjoy it, enjoy it. And he's like, he can't. This is a guy that only thinks about winning the last game. And that's all it is for him. And it seems like that's everything for him. Now, this is based on a book, and it's based on the real-life events that happened around 2001, 2002, where the general manager got with some people, and really him and this one guy, and said, well, what about these statistics? Looking at their stats, and now analyzing how many times they're on base, how many times they can get on base, and trying to do on a mathematical equation type of way to make an efficient baseball team. And of course, this causes a lot of ruckus, as it does in the film. People going, that's not how it was done. That's why we have scouts that have been doing this for years and years and years and decades and decades. It's not just math. You can't do it with science and all that. It's about intuition, and you have to feel it, and about emotion. So it was a different way of looking at it. And after that, 20 consecutive wins, which was a record. They broke that by getting that. People looked at it and went, well, wait a minute, this team paid this little money, got this many wins, and the more wins you get, the more fans will buy products, the more fans will want to come to your games, more money you make. And the whole beginning problem for Brad Pitt is, I can't compete with a $120 million payroll like the Yankees when I only have a $39 million payroll here with the Athletics. Because that's the conundrum, is at the beginning of the film, their team loses, and then any noteworthy players are going to get bought out, and we can't afford you to stay. So the teams that are rich, they can price out the smaller or the the monetarily deficient teams. So those teams technically, it seems like we'll never get the best players, because even if they do get a decent player, well, we could just buy it from you. And even if we don't play them, we bought it from you. We bought them, and we just will put them in the back, and you don't get them to tough titty. You don't have your good players, so you don't lose even more, and we got your player, and It costs us this much, but it'll equal this much. I mean, all this stuff going on in baseball. Now, I will admit, I'm not a baseball fan. I don't watch baseball. Very few movies about baseball I like. I enjoy Field of Dreams. I really enjoy Major League, the first one, because I really enjoy the characters and I really enjoy the story. And this was another case of that. That even if you don't like baseball, you can enjoy it because of the story. And I say characters are based on real people, but I really like Brad Pitt. The type of like guts and determination and risk that he goes through in implementing this crazy plan, and the opposition he gets from the other scouts and the owner and manager, the coach. The coach is actually played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. Before, may he rest in peace. Well, that's one of the. It's a pretty lengthy film. It's like 2 hours and 13 minutes. Granted, I will admit I didn't feel that bored with this movie, surprisingly enough. So that's how I got into the story. So I give credit to that. But it felt like Philip Seymour Hoffman didn't have much to do in this, which I thought that was a waste of a good, talented actor. Because I don't know if he had scenes that was cut out or what, but pretty much he has one scene that he talks to Brad Pitt about, I have a 1-year contract, I need more. There's a scene where he's talking with Brad and going, who's this guy, Jonah Hill, which I'll get to him in a minute. Who is he? And why you sure you don't want to do this? One or two little arguments about who Phil Seymour is using or not using. And then for the good, like, second half of the film, he's pretty much in the background. He's getting the credit for what the team's doing, even though it was Brad and Jonah Hill's initiation of this plan doing it. Now, it's a movie. Of course, they embellish stuff. And if they're embellishing one thing, they can embellish a lot of things. And they could have embellished Philip Seymour Hoffman, at least going up and going, hey, you know what, man? You were wrong. I mean, I was wrong, you were right. Or, you know what? It wasn't me that did this. Maybe there was stuff that was filmed and it was cut out. Maybe I blanked out and I missed it. And if so, I apologize. This is all pointless. But I think more could have been done with his character because... yeah, how much you base it on the real life events, there's always a tricky thing. Because like I said, you know all these films, there's some embellishments. But how much of it, I guess, is up to the writer and the director. Jonah Hill plays the guy who is a player analysis who Brad Pitt finds and hires. And he's the one that comes up with this plan. He's from Yale. This sabermetrics, I believe it's called, about how that comes into play. I thought Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill worked well together. And Jonah Hill was rather good. I mean, it's interesting when he takes jobs like this or The Wolf of Wall Street, where he's going a bit outside the box. In this, he underplays it. I think underplaying it was the right decision because he did not come off as annoying. He did not come off as irritating. He came off as, you know, the character he needed to be. You know, the person he needed to be. You have Brad Pitt and showed a bit of his charm and the make or break deals of these meetings. Like even though it's just two people sitting and taking phone calls, the scene works because I thought the dialogue was nicely written, the way these two interact with each other, and how these games are played with this higher business of, oh, I want this player. Well, this other people don't buy it. I don't know about that. Call this person. Hey, you know what? You know, how about this? I get rid of this guy and I get one of your guys. I'll even pay you a little bit of money. I'll pay, you know, this guy, you know. Did you hear anything from him? No, I don't know. Maybe something fishy's going on. The way that was done, I thought, was very efficient, and the script was fairly well done, and I think the editing was nicely done. Like, there are times where Brad or Jonah are looking at the numbers, but editing of the numbers with TV footage and really nice music. It's a subtle musical score that fits the proceedings well, captures the nice emotional beats well. There is subplots with Brad Pitt's daughter, but they don't go overboard. It doesn't get too much into TV movie cliche where the daughter hates the dad or the ex-wife is like, I don't take your daughter away, or it doesn't go into too much of that melodrama, which I appreciate. And I don't know, maybe that's because it did happen and this is trying to be more real. Whatever the reason may be, because again, they always put embellishes and based on a true story. I'm glad they didn't do that in this, because that stuff could get old quick. There's another person I recognize, and it's a pretty young Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt is in this just a few years before Guardians of the Galaxy. He's here as a baseball player named Scott, who they get, and I think he was a catcher, but then they tell him to play, I think, first base. He's like, I never played that. Well, you know what? You don't learn. Because they realize that he can get on base better than others. And it's weird. Like, yeah, it's hard to explain for me why I got into this film because, like I said, when you say it out loud, it's about stats and baseball, and I'm not even a fan of baseball. If there's a sport I like, it's basketball. But I'm not really. Baseball in real life to me is fucking boring. In movies like The Fan with Robert De Niro, it could be exciting. That's another baseball movie I like. The Fan. Like The Fan is a good movie, in my opinion. I may not do shit about baseball, but I like the story and the acting. Wesley Snipes, Robert De Niro. I think it also works that for the most part it sticks with Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill. And it doesn't deviate too much into unnecessary subplots. Like a little bit of Brad Pitt with his kid, his daughter, a little bit of some of these players, but it's more focused on him and Jonah and less on the team. So it feels a bit of a different sports drama. And there's other sports dramas I liked. I mean, there's comedies I liked. White Men Can't Jump with Wesley Snipes. Dramas like Any Given Sunday with football. Al Pacino. Love Any Given Sunday. Awesome movie. Love that film. But here, because it takes place with mainly focusing on these two main characters, it just felt a bit different. It didn't feel as derivative as other sports movies. And it was interesting how they were trying to change the game, how they're trying to do something different, and that guts and determination it took, despite the opposition, because Phil Seymour Hoffman didn't want to do what they wanted, so they're losing. Stay the course. Okay, now we're winning. Now we're going to get to 20 consecutive wins, which would break a record, and how they're talking to the team and going, hey, this is what we need to do trust the process. Which I know after there's a lot more process. Ben Simmons, which that was a fail in basketball, but I mean, don't want to go off on the tangent. Like telling people don't steal base. That's what I do. No, that's not what you do here. What you do here is get on the base. Don't try to steal. Or no, get easy outs. Okay, don't be the hero, try to get second, get the first base. Get the first base, you get the out, it ratchets up. And the way they explain it, it made it so it wasn't confusing and it made sense. And like I said, it just made it a bit interesting to see where this was going to go. Now, with that said, did the movie need to be over 2 hours, 2 hours and 13 minutes? No. No, like I say, it didn't bother me, but, in the middle, I do think there's bits here and there, to be fair, that you could edit out or you could shorten. you do. It was interesting that you do get moments of them playing baseball, but it's more again behind the scenes of what's going on, and even the ending I thought was interesting. Again, the spoilers. Well, of course, yes, they win the 20 consecutive wins, but they don't win the World Series or anything. And you look at Brad Pitt's point of view. You know, if we lose the last game, they'll erase us. Be like nothing ever happened. And of course that happens, and he's down in the dumps again. As Jonah Hill points out, I like the way he pointed out where there was this player who was overweight, and he hit the baseball and he got to first base, and this guy got a home run and he didn't even realize it. So this is a guy that's so focused on his failure or his potential failure, and so focused that there's no way anything could change, that he can't enjoy the moment. Like, that's kind of the big theme. I mean, literally his daughter has a song at the end showcasing that. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy the show, I should say. Enjoy the show. Again, you have a guy. That's why there's a scene where the daughter, when they're going to win the 20th consecutive game, the daughter's like, no, Dad, go back and watch the game. Again, this is a guy that's so into baseball, and you're asking, why are you into baseball? Because you don't watch the game. You don't enjoy it. This is a guy, again, who's so scared that by watching he'll jinx and stuff, he only listens on a radio. And even this, like, you got 20 consecutive wins, and you're changing the game, and you don't even realize it. Like, you don't even enjoy the ride. And as one person puts it, yeah, the first guy that goes through the wall, he's going to get bloody. But, you know, if other people see that and they listen, and things flourish. Now, in reality, I don't know if the guy did get... In the movie, they say that he was up for a GM on the Boston Red Sox, and he was going to be like the highest paid general manager. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe it is true, and then he said no, and he stayed with the Athletics. I guess that's sort of a showcase of, if he's thinking about winning, he probably win with the Red Sox more. And then text says that, yeah, about 2 years, just a few years later, they did win. The Boston Red Sox did win the World Series. I think that was around when that movie Fever Pitch came out with Drew Barrymore and Jimmy... Was it Jimmy Kimmel? Or Jimmy Fallon? I think Jimmy Fallon. I don't know. I don't know the Jimmys. I don't watch their shit. I mean, people may say some bits of the finale feels a bit derivative. I don't know. If it did, it didn't bother me as much as other people. Like I said, the running time didn't need to be that much of a long, to be fair. Long running time. Phil Seymour Hoffman, I wish he had a bit more beat to the role, especially in the second half. It feels like he's really given nothing to do. Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill do a really good job playing off each other. But the story just kept me interested to see where this would go in terms of this new system, and it made things a bit different compared to other baseball movies. The direction was fairly competent. Like I said, the way certain scenes were edited, using, it seemed like maybe real footage from this era, like real footage and then their footage, and all sorts of stuff. Does the musical score fit well without being blunt or overbearing? And like I said, sometimes you just want a pretty good story, and that's what this was, with two very solid actors. Like Jonah Hill, he has become a pretty damn good actor. He's not just the guy from Superbad. Brad Pitt, some people don't like him. I've always liked him. Hell, Bullet Train that came out recently One of my favorite films of the year. Really liked Bullet Train. So, with that said, if you watch the trailer or anything in between, I think it's worth a look. Even if you're not into baseball. Thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later.